We're lucky enough to have Martin Levy with us, who comes from a network that is at many, many exchanges around the world, and so he's going to give us a bit more of a global view on peering. So if I can ask Martin to come up now.
Well, first of all, yeah, I think I am the person who's traveled the furthest from corporate headquarters to here, but I really haven't. I've actually been in London, and I was in Europe prior to that, so it was actually a very short trip up here, but the weather is everything I remember of Scotland. So far, so good. What Andrew's given you is a very localized point of view. I'm going to give you the exact opposite, which I think is a perfect complement to that, which is a global view of internet peering. And partway through this, I'm sort of going to give you sort of the classic network map, which actually will reinforce some of the stuff that I'm going to talk about. But basically, what I've been asked to do is to look at things from the outside in, and it will give you some great examples of what's going on around the rest of the world and why, and this is a key point, why it has been of benefit to the local community and the local internet resilience and the like. So we'll start just by obviously talking about internet exchange points, the topic du jour, the topic of today. But this is literally a photograph of a. See, I have a prompt. I have a prompt of a paper napkin that existed back in '95. That Milo Mendin, who at the time was working for NASA, ended up at home at a cable company, sat down and said, look, we want to build this internet exchange, and really we just need one of these and one of these and one of these. And that classic, in fact in this case, Silicon Valley, written on the back of a napkin and ready to be implemented, is sort of the classic. This is a group of people that want to get together and make sure that traffic, in this case, didn't flow from California all the way back at that time to Virginia, just outside Washington, D.C. That's 3,500 miles, which is something else in kilometers, and is a lot more milliseconds than from here to London. It's not that simple. It turns out actually to get this done took an awful lot of meetings, and it was done actually, and it was done very successfully. But it became one of the internet exchanges that really got a lot of the ISPs and the internet's work done in this case in the United States. But that diagram is just part of the story, because if we go look at sort of the basis, and I'm going to absolutely repeat what Andrew said, and I guarantee that it's going to get repeated again by somebody else before the end of the day. But what you basically have here is these basic good ideas, and we've got the proof of this as we go down this, that both internet peering points are a good idea, that peering between networks is a good idea, that local, key point, as much as I'm talking about things at a global level, it turns out that local self-reliance and resiliency is absolutely a good idea. And this has been proven unfortunately, through natural disaster events. And I can talk about those if it makes sense, but the bottom line is that, as I said, it's been shown to be very clear. It has been shown that it is a magnet to bring in critical internet infrastructure. Things like root name servers, DNS servers, that give you that first quick lookup when converting from what a user types into a number that is actually used to route on the internet. That putting those services close by and having an internet exchange is the most logical place to put them is a good idea. I tried to find a picture of, actually, NTP stands for Network Time Protocol. I tried to find a picture that I took in '96. Yes, around '96, of one of the Network Time Protocol clocks that existed at the London Internet Exchange way back when. And I have that picture somewhere, and I truly can't find it. And then this other point about peering, which is related. The internet is not going away. This is an obvious statement, but it really isn't going away. And therefore, as we have progressed, we have seen the need to localize traffic further and further and further, and therefore this regional effect becomes far more evident. And you could in fact actually claim that that even London was a regional exchange if you look at it from a global point of view. Came about because traffic was flowing from Europe to America, only to be turned around and what is called tromboned back into Europe or into London. And so the London Internet Exchange came about to solve that problem here in the UK. Sorry, I meant to mention this. I do have a certain amount of street cred as much as I live in California. I actually was born in London. I am a Brit. I hold a couple of passports, but I still show a British passport when I show up here. Okay, so a couple more points that are really key. Internet exchange points have an inverse function. It turns out that internet exchange points actually draw in telecom providers. Whereas you may sometimes say that you're looking for an internet exchange to solve a telecom problem, you may actually find that telecoms themselves will see internet exchanges as potential business and as potential places where more business will occur. And that's definitely the case for a company like ours, that we actually look for internet exchange points as a sign that there is a vibrant internet community. And quite frankly, being a commercial company, I can say this, and wanting to sell something. That I say purely on a commercial point of view. All right, I don't need to do this slide because Andrew covered it very nicely, but here's a nice complicated diagram, and it's a simple one. I actually went and looked up the numbers. Andrew said there are actually like something in the region of 2,100 autonomous system numbers that are registered in the UK. Just over half are active. This is a pretty classic statistic from around the world in a country like the UK. It just so happens that more companies actually decide they want to get into a more individualized networking than actually occur. There's nothing strange about that. But those networks and interconnects are the key part. This diagram here really is just the tiniest of diagrams to show the robustness of one particular network. Pick some random network. All these lines show how some of them interconnect. Andrew showed a BGP play diagram, the more colorful diagram. There are many different ways of visualizing it, and I've got even one more example. Key point, nothing stays the same. When you're in the internet infrastructure game, you build something, and the first thing you're looking for is how can I improve it? And that could mean additional peering points, additional links, more lines on that graph, changing the thickness, maybe doing more connectivity from one place to another. There are an awful lot of internet exchanges out there. Repeat that. There's an awful lot of internet exchanges out there. Some are big, some are very small. This map doesn't even come close. And there are other places where you can find a map of some variety or other. This doesn't come close to covering all the exchanges. It would be messy. But I use this map as a good example. Some of the original exchanges that existed in the United States are still technically there by location, but not by operator, or definitely not by technology. Technology has evolved dramatically, and the speeds have evolved, not order of magnitude, but many, many orders of magnitude. But this diagram will show large and small exchanges. In Europe, we have 3 massive exchanges, of which LINX is part of that top 3. And in fact, actually, globally, Europe exceeds other places in the world from an internet exchange point of view, just basic statistics. We have locations on the map with fairly small exchanges. We have locations which have really got their act together. Brazil has understood how to do regional exchanges, possibly better than any other country in the world. And they have become the poster child to say, it doesn't matter whether you're in Sao Paulo or Rio or Brasilia, but if you're out in a state that's right next to the Amazon and may only have 2 or 3 ISPs, it's going to have an internet exchange, because they know it makes a difference. So this map shows only some of them. There are many exchanges in Australia, in South Africa. Kenya has become a hotbed on the east of Africa for understanding how to move traffic around. But Tanzania has an exchange as well, as does Rwanda. Nigeria has actually been very successful. Throughout Europe, you could put easily 2 times to 3 times that amount of dots on the map. And in some cases, there are multiple exchanges in the same city. That turns out also to be a sign of maturity of a local market and of the need either for resilience and diversity on the exchange side. So this is just a high-level map. Some very big, some very small. Some operated by some operated by regulators. And trying to give an example. IXPs in India. Chile to a certain extent, but in most of the cases run either by membership organizations or by commercial organizations. So how do we picture the UK internet? I thought this would be useful just to sort of give you, I could show 190 diagrams like what I'm about to show you. It's complicated. It's meant to be this complicated. This is the diagram that we've been producing at Hurricane Electric and really scratching our heads as to make it valuable. The best thing to do about this diagram is just to sort of look at it as a piece of art. Because looking at the exact numbers and who is whom, it doesn't make any sense. The rest of the world is depicted by one little tiny square in the center of this diagram. But as you look at the UK and how it connects to this network of networks, connected networks, what you see is that there's a massive amount of connections. And that is singularly what LINX has brought to the table. If LINX didn't exist, there would not be this level of networking in the UK. There would not be this level of interconnect to the rest of the world. Andrew's talked about a company out of Edinburgh that interconnects with Romania, with Israel, with Russia, with South Africa. And I know that list must go on and on and on. That, Andrew's network is somewhere on this diagram. I don't know where. But you see these little dots where you see other sort of areas of interest. They could be anything from players like a BT or a Virgin or a couple of the other transit players that are here registered in network-wise, at least in the UK. But this network is complicated. It has lots of connections to the side. It doesn't all go into one point. And that's part of the peering and transit story. That interconnect is complicated. This is not a physical, this is purely a logical diagram. So if you were to see, let's take it into the future and be positive and look at an exchange here in Scotland, you would start seeing a clustering of AS numbers of networks in Scotland that would then start interconnecting independently of the UK, of London. And that, again, would improve the level of diversity. It's a nice diagram. You can zoom in and see who's who, but the reality is I still think it's a better piece of artwork than, but it's live, sorry. But a really key point to say, it's built from live data. It's not, drawn by an artist. Sorry. So there I'll talk about us, but this is not why I'm here, but it will explain the point. Large global network, a little bit washed out. There are some countries behind that. But bottom line is all of those dots where we operate, and in fact, actually, I think we're now at 59 internet exchanges around the world. Key point. The internet exchange, the existence of an internet exchange, the growth of an internet business, whether it be hosting or whatever, around an internet exchange, has basically for us said, oh, there's a potential of good business to be had inside there. We're a wholesale play, by the way. We don't provide connectivity to cable modems. We don't provide content. We're not a Netflix or anybody like that. We just interconnect all of the individual players. So we have telcos and hosting centers and random large enterprises around the world. So all these dots here are where there's exchanges, and that shows that there's a good business for us. It gets it on the map. Okay, I'm going to talk about this very much, but there is an OECD paper for those people out of the government here that want to go read 90-odd pages of, 99 pages. That's what government people do, I've been told. Actually, this one is worth reading. This one's worth reading, and most of the typos have been fixed in it now. OECD document that we'll sum it up very quickly. Peering and internet exchanges work. So this is somebody official that said this. Now this is the key point. I didn't just twig on the government people here for a reason. Very good results with very little regulation. Think about that statement for a moment. Reducing costs, improving traffic. We've already heard that one. It has the potential. Now this is the key point. So wait a second here. Does peering take away revenue from somebody? Well, it's a yes and a no. To a certain extent, yes. But no player inside the confines that we're talking about here is ever going to convert 100% of their spend on internet transit, their ability to connect to the rest of the internet, into peering. Andrew, you said 20% of your traffic is about 25. 25. Good number. Not 100%. There is no loss of revenue, because the bottom line is, I presume your company grows, just like ours. We buy more peering, we buy more transit. Everything grows. The internet, simple line graph of the internet is up and to the right. Okay, it's a summary, but you're going to hear a lot more. I'll take questions and answers later, according to Ben. And I just wanted to give you that global view and just understand, just at the high level, that this is not a unique thing. This is something that works really well around the rest of the world. Thank you.
Thank you.